Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
The former child protection officer, Peter McKelvie, has resigned from a victims panel attached to the Goddard Inquiry into historical child abuse. He'd been told that he was likely to be called as a witness to the inquiry after he'd passed allegations against a senior MP to Labour's now deputy leader, Tom Watson. Channel 4 News revealed last night that he'd raised the same allegations with Downing Street in May of this year, almost 3 years after they'd been investigated and dismissed by police. Ed Hauker reports.
Clear intelligence suggesting a powerful paedophile network linked to Parliament and Number 10.
Tom Watson's parliamentary question on child abuse caused a sensation in October 2012. But the man behind that statement was Peter McKelvie, a respected campaigner whose work has led to the exposure of child abusers, but who, today, stepped down from the Goddard Inquiry panel. Last night, we reported that Mr. McKelvie continued to repeat allegations that a sitting MP was linked to a high-level paedophile network as late as May this year. In 2012, police had dismissed the allegations, and today we learnt that Mr. McKelvie knew that police had dismissed the allegations, but he continued to repeat them anyway. In the email Mr. McKelvie sent to Tom Watson in May, he explained that he'd written to the Prime Minister condemning the appointment of the MP to government, which he said represents utter contempt for the survivors of child sexual abuse. But we now know that he'd already been told by the Met Police that they could find no evidence of offending linked to the minister in December 2012. We don't know what motivated him because he refused to speak to us. There are questions too for Justice Goddard and her inquiry team at Millbank. The inquiry was aware of Mr. McKelvie's claims about the minister when he was appointed. In fact, he even met with Justice Goddard to discuss them. So some are now questioning how his appointment could have happened in the first place. The inquiry says that since Mr. McKelvie is likely to be a witness in their investigation, it would be inappropriate for him to continue to advise them. But his resignation today is a body blow to those pursuing allegations of paedophile conspiracies. And Justice Goddard was keen to clarify her role, stating that
allegations concerning child sexual abuse related to Westminster are only one component of the inquiry's work. As I said in my opening statement, the inquiry's terms of reference go far broader than this.
On Wednesday, Tom Watson will face MPs to explain why he has pursued his Westminster allegations for so long. We asked him about Mr. McKelvie's resignation tonight. He didn't return our calls.
Well, the Metropolitan Police has been explaining its handling of rape allegations against the former Conservative Cabinet Minister, Leon Brittan. Although it eventually decided that there was no foundation to the claims, it failed to inform the peer before his death in January this year. Our Home Affairs correspondent Simon Israel is with me with more details. Simon.
Well, today there's a long statement, some might say comprehensive, others might say convoluted, into what the Met investigated Leon Brittan some time ago. It's basically a shortened version of a long report that's been sent to the Mayor, which we haven't seen. It's basically a chronology of the investigation into a rape allegation that was made against the former Home Secretary, Lord Brittan. And it basically goes backwards and forwards between the police and the Crown Prosecution Service. And then what happens is the CPS do not authorise. They insist on the Met coming back with more information. And all the way through this, there appears to be the constant theme of insufficient evidence. And then in this statement, there is this rather extraordinary remark with the Met appearing to admit they were scared to admit that this investigation was going nowhere to the public because they were worried about reaction. And in the statement, they say, a decision to take no further action in respect of this allegation would undoubtedly have resulted in media criticism and public cynicism. And there was clearly a very strong public interest in ensuring that the correct decision had been made.
So what happens now?
So the case carried on, kept going backwards and forwards between the CPS and the police, with the Met saying there wasn't a strong case. In fact, there wasn't a case at all, as far as I understand it, and trying to get the CPS to make that decision. By the time that happened, Lord Britton had died. The Met told the complainant the case was over, but failed to tell his wife. For that, they concede that was a mistake, and they have apologised. And next week, as the report has suggested, the Home Affairs Select Committee examine this further into what is really an extraordinary state of affairs, where a police investigation in police parlance should follow where the evidence takes them, and doesn't follow that because there isn't any evidence, and instead concerned more about public perception.
Simon Israel.
If you